On the day of the young lady's imperial consort ceremony, I unexpectedly beheld numerous characters. Wow, the palace intrigue side quest has officially commenced. I eagerly await the clash between the task girl and the noble lady. Alas, this maid, who expended great effort to remove the favored concubine for her lady, met a gruesome fate, resonating deeply with the working class. She perished at the tender age of 15. Gruesome fate? Who? Me? Poor thing. How could she know that her lady had been replaced, and that the one currently wearing her guise is a task girl? However, had there not been a change, it would be impossible to engage in a romance with the enemy responsible for her family's annihilation. This marks the 3rd month since the young lady entered the palace, and through our relentless efforts, she has finally ascended to the position of Xian Fei. Today is her official coronation ceremony, and I have been assigned to hold her train. Yet, just as the ceremony commenced, I suddenly saw these characters. My hand faltered in holding the train, causing the young lady to tumble backward. How could such a foolish person have ousted the favored concubine? Well, she need not fear being stripped of her title later, for her demise is imminent now. Fortunately, the young lady merely spun around before falling into His Majesty's embrace. You scared me to death. I thought this coronation ceremony would end in disgrace. Please, I still want to witness the female protagonist redeeming Gao Qing'an in the little dark room, engaging in all sorts of intriguing activities. A mere surface-level appearance belies an emotional dominator. How delightful. We, as strong women, ought to be this way. The male lead possesses commendable core strength, while the female lead maintains a stable stance. He. A piercing pain throbbed in my head, as if something were about to sprout. At last, I recalled those forgotten memories. 2. On the day the city fell, the Marquis's residence was besieged by Gao Qing'an and his troops. He ordered the male captives to be executed by dismemberment and hung their bodies at the city gates. The women and children were trampled underfoot, reduced to mere mud. The cacophony of wails, the thunderous beats of hooves, and the fervent curses melded into a singular, haunting symphony. It was the most harrowing spectacle one could witness in this world. I narrowly escaped this calamity by delivering provisions to the Siji Hall. Yet the young lady was forcibly taken away for injuring Gao Qing'an. The scene abruptly froze at this moment. Why has this maid stopped moving? Could it be she has recalled something? Oh, this is intriguing. Is the most loyal servant of the heroine about to betray her? Surely not. They say she is merely a supporting character. Can she truly eclipse the heroine? Have you not seen that her mistress's body has been usurped? What can a nameless side character achieve? At most, she might turn dark and be defeated by the heroine, ultimately becoming a stepping stone. Sigh. I would love to see the original owner return and take revenge on the task's antagonist. It seems rather unsophisticated to seize another's body just to pursue the male lead. Well, that's merely a thought. The introduction states that once the heroine becomes Consort Xian, she faces no rivals, successfully redeems the male lead, and helps him overcome his psychological scars. Eventually, she falls in love with him and forsakes her return to reality, enjoying a century of blissful love. As I perused these words, an icy chill crept up my spine. If their claims held true, did that not make me an accomplice in harming the young lady? In the next instant, darkness enveloped me, and I fainted. 3. I was awakened by a splash of icy water.
Fool.
How could I be burdened with such a foolish servant? Truly as dim-witted as a pig. Punishment is in order. Let it be severe. If this hand is useless, then wash it thoroughly. The palace servant took a salt-soaked cloth and began to scrub my hands. The crystalline salt grains tore through my skin, leaving a network of tiny, crimson wounds. The salt mingled with my blood, seeping into my flesh like thousands of needles piercing through. In less than half a stick of incense, my cold sweat had drenched my clothes. My complexion turned pale, and I nearly fainted. I recalled that this was called hand cleansing. She claimed that salt could purify filth, and this was her punishment designed for palace servants with unclean hands and feet. She believed that those who were unclean in another's palace would surely face amputation. But her kindness led her to impose a lesser punishment. I knelt on the ground, raising my swollen, red hands. Thank you, your ladyship, for your mercy. Only then did her anger subside. The Master's reward is a reward, and punishment is also a reward. At least you have not forgotten your place.
Wow.
What kind of reward is that? This method is rather cruel, don't you think? She is the heroine, after all. She must conquer the emperor. If she cannot manage her subordinates, how can she subdue Gao Qing'an, that tyrant? A woman without Ruth cannot secure her status. But this maid has done nothing wrong. She stayed up late to embroider skirts for her, vying for favor. Yet, she is tortured for merely tugging at a hem. I still find it unappealing. Compassionate souls, temper your sentiments. This is a feudal society. It is normal to have hands severed. It does not harm the bones. Those who cannot endure should switch to children's programming. That night, I was feverish, my mind clouded in confusion. I found myself speaking to the wall. Can I become the heroine you speak of? As long as you help me kill Gao Qing'an, rescue the young lady, I am willing to do anything. May I perform in your palace intrigue to gain favor? I assure you, it will satisfy you. I anxiously awaited a response. Yet none came. I eventually succumbed to exhaustion and fell into a deep slumber. Wait, who claimed this maid was foolish? I find her quite clever.
4.
I dreamt of the young lady becoming a wandering spirit. Because I failed to recognize her replacement, she wept tears of blood. Her cries were heart-wrenching. In the dream, she continuously called out the original owner's name as if she were about to shatter. Why not assist her? After all, I am not fond of this heroine. No. The heroine, regardless of her flaws, remains the heroine. The supporting character is merely that. She is not as beautiful as the heroine and is but a maid. She does not deserve the male lead. Upon opening my eyes, I saw only the fading words. Before I could utter anything, Qiulu arrived. You must prepare yourself. Today, His Majesty is hosting a grand banquet for the consorts, and the lady wishes to take you along. After speaking, there was an edge of resentment in her voice. She could not fathom why the lady still trusted me, insisting on bringing me along. In the past, I would have felt proud of this, but now. Once I was properly attired, Consort Xian had already taken her seat in the palanquin. She tossed me a pair of silk gloves. Wear these. You ought to cherish yourself better. I bowed in gratitude. What a strategy. This is the art of manipulation. TSK, it sounds so eloquent, yet it's merely a slap followed by a sweet date. ISNT it? Both the good and the bad are left to her. Following closely behind Consort Xian's palanquin, we soon arrived at the grand hall. The Empress Dowager scrutinized Consort Xian with curiosity. She had long heard of the beauty of the daughter of the former General Dingjun, and it was indeed no exaggeration. Consort Xian beamed with a smile. Yet, the Empress Dowager's voice turned cold. I have heard that you once attempted to assassinate His Majesty? Consort Xian's smile immediately froze. And she hurriedly knelt. It was a moment of folly on my part. Consort Xian, dear sister, was not foolish. I heard that you once bit a chunk of flesh from His Majesty's neck before shouting that you would kill him to avenge your father. That injury took a long time to heal. My heart ached for you. This was the Noble Consort, rumored to be the sworn sister of Gao Qing'an's most capable aide, Lan Chong, and the most favored concubine in the harem. After hearing this, the Empress Dowager let out a cold snort, her eyes fixed on Consort Xian. Here it comes. The heroine's greatest rival. The enmity is surely forged here. Silence. Let us see how the heroine will resolve this. Consort Xian tightened her handkerchief, her almond-shaped eyes welling with tears. I am already His Majesty's person. A woman remains with her father until marriage, and thereafter, she follows her husband. Now that my father and brothers are gone, His Majesty is the one I must obey. The Empress Dowager repeated her words, remains with her father until marriage, and thereafter follows her husband, finding it rather intriguing. It is my own realization. As a woman, one must respect her husband and consider him in all things. I also believe that, should the opportunity arise, I must teach these words to all women. Only by diligently supporting their husbands and fulfilling their duties as wives can peace reign over the world. 5. Wait, am I on the wrong channel? Are you portraying the grand heroine of political intrigue and romance like this? For the first time, I feel utterly devoid of strength and means. If anyone discovered that I was watching such a plot, I might end up with a cyber record, wouldn't I? What she said isn't wrong. Let's not forget this is ancient times. Can she directly rebel against imperial authority? Even the grand heroine must adhere to fundamental principles, right? I always thought the Empress kneeling before her mother-in-law was a joke. I never expected you to actually go there. Must everything dirty and vile be publicized? They erupted into chaos over Consort Xian's few words, while she successfully diffused the crisis and even earned the Empress Dowager's favor. Consort Xian joyfully expressed her gratitude, receiving a golden hairpin from the Empress Dowager, which she adorned on her head, casting a provocative glance at the Noble Consort. The Noble Consort ground her teeth in frustration. As the two exchanged verbal sparring, Gao Qing'an arrived. Silence, silence. Let me see the male lead. The last time I saw him at the consort's decree, I only caught a glimpse of the back of his head. I knew his posture was good, but I never saw his face. Gao Qing'an took his seat at the main throne, wrapping his arms around Consort Xian. I could not discern what Consort Xian whispered to him, but a smile graced Gao Qing'an's face. They say the most fearsome thing is when an iceberg melts. Today, I experienced it. The typically cold-faced man smiled, and his charm was overwhelming. Gazing at his broad, strong shoulders and that handsome face with its high nose bridge, he is truly the epitome of both elegance and strength. Those with high nose bridges are the best. You impudent girl, can you act properly? Let me perform a few episodes. The exterior may be cold, but the heart is soft. The contrast is utterly delightful. Gao Qing'an was indeed handsome, with his sword-like brows and starry eyes, tall and imposing. It is no wonder these people are enamored. However, the subsequent events rendered laughter impossible. A clumsy eunuch inadvertently spilled wine upon the hem of Consort Xian's garment. Gao Qing'an raised his hand, thrusting the candlestick towards the eunuch. A shriek escaped the eunuch's lips as he was instantly engulfed in flames. The onlookers stood frozen in fear. Something so careless. Your Majesty, spare my life, I beseech you. Yet, no one dared to intervene despite his desperate cries. Gao Qing'an, with an air of amusement, observed the palace servant writhing on the ground, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Soon, the man fell silent, leaving behind a charred corpse. Gao Qing'an waved his hand dismissively, boring, "Clean this up." The hall was enveloped in a chilling silence until Consort Xian's voice rang out. Eunuchs are the most vile. Your Majesty's incineration of such an unclean soul will surely ensure your health for years to come. Long live your Majesty. Only then did the crowd awaken from their stupor, echoing in unison, "Long live your Majesty." Gao Qing'an pulled Consort Xian into his embrace, stroking the nape of her neck as he praised, "You are indeed exceptionally astute." They finally erupted. Difficult to evaluate indeed. The male lead is a sociopath, and the female lead is a sycophant. What a diabolical narrative of redemption this is. The plot fails to portray the tyrant as such. No way. I have decided to support Sister Chun Tao as our grand heroine. Let it be. What is there to redeem in a male lead like this? Just because he was bullied in the past, leaving him psychologically scarred, he now derives pleasure from torturing others. The eunuch harmed no one, and neither did the audience. I heard there's a protagonist here gaining favor through the virtues of obedience and propriety, and people are flocking to witness it. Has it finally become a cyber scandal? Please, no. He started this way, but in the end, the female lead warms his heart, and he relinquishes this hatred, eventually becoming a wise ruler. Just wait a bit longer. Is it not enough to be harsh to others while being kind to the female lead? Wait for what? Can becoming a wise ruler erase the transgressions he committed before? Such a rotten cucumber should be kept away from female-centric narratives. Just because he has a handsome face, can he do as he pleases? Away with him. Only those who are both good-looking and possess noble character deserve a glance from our grand heroine. How ridiculous. Refund my membership fee. 6. After the banquet concluded, I reclined upon my bed when suddenly a line of text appeared before my eyes. Dear Miss Chun Tao, we know you can see us. We have decided to aid you in your quest for vengeance. Would you be willing? If so, merely nod. My hand trembled as I nodded in response. Both you and the task-oriented female are without support in the harem. Your duty is to help her gain favor, for only then can you genuinely approach Gao Qing'an. I say, just kill the wretched emperor. Perhaps the task-oriented female will be ejected immediately. Easier said than done. Can she even enter the Emperor's chamber? Not to mention the guards. That rotten cucumber is a seasoned warrior. Can she contend with him? Enough, let us speak of something useful. According to the plot, in a few days, there will be a thunderstorm, and the task-oriented female will undoubtedly go to check on that rotten cucumber. Chuntao sees the opportunity. During the storm, this rotten cucumber will go mad, and you can take a beating in place of Consort Xian to demonstrate loyalty, thus averting her ire toward you. I read the text word for word, committing it to memory. Early the next morning, the sky loomed ominously. True to their predictions, Consort Xian intended to deliver sweet soup to the emperor. As we awaited instructions, a thunderclap erupted overhead, illuminating the pallid face of the chief eunuch with silvery lightning. The metallic tang of rust in the wind was nauseating, and after a single scream, the hall fell silent once more. Upon entering the hall with Consort Xian, I found Gao Qing'an sharpening a knife. A hapless eunuch sprawled lifeless at his feet. Wow, this male lead is truly a pure psychopath. The narrative claims he enjoys tormenting others. Is the female lead's love meant to redeem him, or will it merely lead to continued suffering? What era are we in to still indulge in such antics? Gao Qing'an's eyes were bloodshot, resembling a madman, seemingly oblivious to our presence. He lashed out with a whip towards Consort Xian. The whip sliced through the air with a menacing whoosh. Had it struck, it would surely have left her bloodied and broken. I shielded Consort Xian, taking the blow myself. My lady, stay close. Do not let His Majesty harm you. Consort Xian hesitated, then instinctively nestled closer to me. This female lead is quite shameless. She doesn't hesitate to take refuge when told. Gao Qing'an lashed out several more times until my back was drenched in blood, at which point he staggered, as though regaining his senses. Consort Xian, witnessing this, quickly stepped out from behind me, using a hairpin to carve a deep wound into her own hand, instructing me to wait outside the hall. Wait, what does she mean by this? Haven't you ever taken a tea etiquette class? I suggest you enroll. ISN tea it obvious, she intends to evoke sympathy? She supported Gao Qing'an, tears glistening in her eyes. High Lord, you have finally awakened. I was so worried about you. As Gao Qing'an turned to her, she inadvertently revealed her wound. He, too, displayed a pained and guilty expression. It is my fault. You have endured much suffering. As long as you are unharmed, what does my injury matter? Though she spoke thus, her delicate brows were slightly furrowed, evoking sympathy. When Consort Xian exited, she was unusually cheerful and even graciously bestowed upon me a favorable look. Today, you've shown good insight. When we return, come to my quarters for some ointment. We must ensure there are no scars. Is there truly no one to speak up for that eunuch? I can't take it anymore. I need a moment to recover. Can this be classified as a tale of deceitful men and shameless women? I am urgently awaiting a king's intervention. Very urgently. Had I known this would be the nature of redemption, I would have never ventured in. It's true what they say, everyone encounters deception. If you haven't been deceived, you simply haven't encountered the right scam. Wait, it seems the rotten cucumber has caught on. He has ordered the eunuch to report and intends to investigate our Chuntao. Surely, having become emperor, he isn't so foolish. Let's take it slow. Our Chuntao is truly remarkable. She listens well. Upon hearing their praise, I felt a tinge of bashfulness. Thank you, esteemed benefactors. Your kindness shall forever be etched in my heart. No. Do not call us benefactors. Call us benefactresses. Though the sister lacks striking beauty. Her little tiger teeth are quite adorable.
7.
The emperor dispatched someone to investigate my matters, unbeknownst to Consort Xian. Upon returning to the palace, she gifted me a jar of medicinal ointment, earnestly advising me to tend to my wounds lest they leave scars. I expressed my heartfelt gratitude. After returning to my chamber and applying the medicine, I was unexpectedly met with a knock at my door. Miss Chuntao, His Majesty summons you. I followed the eunuch into Gao Qing'an's chamber. Just as I was about to kneel and offer my respects, Gao Qing'an interrupted. Come closer. I stepped forward to stand before him, and he moved behind me. The proximity allowed me to almost feel his breath. Strangely enough, this perspective is rather fitting. No way. I agree to this marriage. Keep that rotten cucumber away from my sister. My nails dug into my palms. What transpired today in the hall? I replied tremulously, Today, I accompanied the lady to deliver sweet soup to your majesty, but it appears you were ensnared by nightmares and inadvertently harmed her. I heard a soft chuckle from behind me. Oh, you are rather clever. Suddenly, my garment was torn open, exposing the ghastly wound on my back. Gao Qing'an caressed the skin along my wound with his fingertip. So beautiful, I heard him murmur. Then, without warning, he plunged his fingers brutally into my injury. Pain coursed through my body, and I bit my lip to stifle any sound. I recalled their words, that the emperor relished the cries of agony. The more one screamed, the more exhilarated he became. Goodness, such a perverse beast. I'll end you, you rotten cucumber. How foolish of me. I thought he was merely praising my sister's loyalty. Love-struck brain, retreat, retreat, retreat. I truly express my gratitude. I wish to show those who romanticize the notion of ancient emperors and pure love what remnants of feudalism truly entail. After tormenting my wounds, Gao Qing'an wiped his fingers with a cloth. You still possess a measure of loyalty. In due time, I shall plead on your behalf to concubine Xian for a favor, granting you the title of a talented lady. I recalled the words of my benefactors. Your servant thanks His Majesty for his gracious favor. I was once again secretly escorted back to concubine Xian's palace by the eunuchs. It was already late at night, and the palace was ablaze with light. The head eunuch, perceiving the situation, wore a knowing smile and said, Your Highness, I have returned this person to you. I shall not disturb your rest. I take my leave. Thus, I was left alone before concubine Xian. I see you are quite perceptive today. It seems you wish to ascend to the dragon bed. Were it not for Qiu Lu's unwavering loyalty, I might have allowed you to climb to my head. She struck me fiercely, and a vivid red mark instantly blossomed upon my face. You enjoy climbing beds, do you? Tomorrow, off to the cleansing room with you. I knelt in gratitude. Thank you, Your Highness, for your generosity. Qiu Lu, brimming with pride, proclaimed, I told you. You cannot contend with me. Qiu Lu is rather foolish. The plot indicates she eventually meets her demise at the hands of the male lead, though the reason eludes her. My hand trembled as I addressed Qiu Lu. Should there come a day when the mistress sends you to deliver sweet soup to His Majesty, be sure to hold a piece of ginseng beneath your tongue, and remember, regardless of the punishment, do not utter a sound. Do you think I am as foolish as you? Qiu Lu made her disbelief evident. Such wise counsel is wasted on the damned. It is a pity for my kind-hearted sister. This wretched cucumber is truly insufferable if rewards are to be given. They should be given promptly. If only my sister had a title now, why endure such punishment? Men's words are but deceit. One can never tell when they might remember. Seeing their remarks left me somewhat disheartened, yet I knew I could not blame anyone. Sisters, do not be angry. I can wait. And I shall ensure that you do not lose your enjoyment. Silly girl, what enjoyment is there? We are pained for you, born into an era where you must endure such grievances. From their words, I learned that there were indeed places devoid of emperors where one must pay with their life for murder. Wait. Perhaps going to the cleansing room is not such a bad thing. What do you think, Great One? Do you know about potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal? I nodded. Psst. How do you know this? I recounted the story of a young lady to them. Her name was Wei Manqing, the daughter of Duke Dingjun, renowned in the capital for her exceptional talents. While other noble ladies studied the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, she begged her father and brothers to take her horseback riding and archery. While others sought a suitable husband, she ventured into the pleasure quarters with physicians. Scholars in court used this to criticize her father, yet she, citing classical texts, eloquently scolded him for his lack of respect, violating the principles of humanity. Following the acquisition of a 14-year-old concubine, the scholar fell ill from anger. From that moment on, she gained fame in the capital, and no matchmaker dared to approach her. Yet she remained unconcerned, instead taking my hand and speaking of matters I did not comprehend. How could I, a mere clerk earning a meager salary, rise against these stubborn old men? If I had studied the sciences, I would have surely blown them up to make them understand that truth lies beneath the roar of cannons. Do not heed their nonsense about women lacking talent being virtuous. Once I establish a school, I shall have you teach ladies needlework while I teach them to read. She tugged at her disheveled hair, scribbling on paper. Potassium nitrate, sulfur, charcoal, easy to remember, but how to extract them? Though I could not grasp it all, I recognized that Miss Wei wished to undertake something beneficial for women. Thus, I teamed up with a foo, staying up late to craft a pink blouse and skirt for her. Upon receiving the garments, she wept with joy, exclaiming, "Rui, you have done splendidly. Do not make any more next time." A foo asked me, "Does she dislike them?" I replied, "Of course she likes them, otherwise she wouldn't keep mentioning the pink garments. She must be worried we would tire ourselves." As I spoke, melancholy washed over me. I wondered where Miss Wei was now, and if she could ever return to her body. So, the original body was also a transmigrator? Though I hesitate to say. This one truly qualifies as a redemptive female lead, while the current one is merely infatuated with romance. Indeed, the scope has broadened. The mere thought of such a person occupying the original body infuriated me further. All right, we have digressed. Since Sister knows this, it will make things easier. Let us discuss it further tomorrow in the cleansing room. In July, as the heat began to wane, the cleansing house was filled with the warmth of charcoal fires boiling water. This was not out of consideration for the palace servants, but rather a fear that cold water would fail to cleanse the garments of the nobility. I took my silver coins to the steward, seeking to request a task involving the latrines, a plan I had devised the previous day. You seek to go to the cleansing room where there are latrines? That is where we can find what we need. If we succeed, eliminating Gao Qing'an will not be a daunting task. The head eunuch took the coins, casting a curious glance my way. It is rare for someone to seek such menial labor. I forced a smile. The mistress is quite angered this time. If she learns I am slacking off, the punishment will be even harsher. The head eunuch understood. Those in servitude are well aware of this principle. If the master is angry, the servant's comfort becomes a grave error. Thus, I found my reason to traverse between the cleansing room and elsewhere, and indeed, I discovered the white frost they spoke of. Woohoo, potassium nitrate, sulfur, charcoal, add a dash of sugar, and we can concoct a powerful explosive. With a little refinement, we can obliterate that wretched cucumber. Sister, listen closely. During this time, gather white frost while also strengthening your body through latrine work. Do not expect anyone to avenge you. We can only teach you the methods. But the execution must be yours. Of course, we shall also find a few high-ranking members of the palace to teach you some strategies for winning favor. But these cunning tactics are merely a last resort. Only by empowering yourself can true vengeance be achieved. From then on, I bound stones to my legs, laboring in the latrines by day and studying what they had taught me by night, crafting what they referred to as black powder when no one was watching. 3 months passed. My arms and legs grew stronger, and I learned many new skills. In the cleansing room, those who erred as palace servants often languished in sickness, waiting for death, as no one would summon a physician for a servant. Yet, with my rudimentary medical knowledge, I managed to save a few lives and gleaned much information. For instance, the favored consort and the great general were not siblings, but husband and wife. Indeed, Qiu Lu was sent by concubine Xian to be tormented by Gao Qing'an. When she was carried out, her body bore no healthy flesh, yet she had not perished, only needing to recuperate for a while. Gao Qing'an had taken a new paramour, rumored to be a goddess of resurrection, who was immediately bestowed the title of Miao Pin upon entering the palace, settling in Yanhe Palace. The allure of resurrection and immortality was one that no emperor could resist. Consequently, concubine Xian and the favored consort were neglected. Lacking loyal supporters, concubine Xian recalled me. Sister, gather your belongings. When the opportunity arises, we shall execute a grand scheme.
Send him on his way.
I just received a system notification indicating that the loopholes here are about to be fixed. We may not be able to communicate with you any longer. A new character has emerged, the plot has unraveled, and we can offer you no further assistance. From now on, vengeance rests solely upon your shoulders. Good luck. I uttered my final words of gratitude into the air, yet this time, no one replied. The path ahead, I must tread alone. When I was returned to the palace, I beheld concubine Xian in a frenzy, having kicked the jade screen to the ground. It was merely a ruse to feign breathlessness. What goddess? Truly ignorant. Chun Tao, I grant you one last chance out of old affection. You should know the fate of those who betray their masters. I bowed my head and replied, Your servant understands. Although the noble consort Xian felt slighted by Gao Qing'an's failure to seek her out, she remained resolutely confident in her impending ascension to the role of empress. This assurance stemmed largely from her awareness of the narrative at play. Through our recent interactions, I have come to understand that the world we inhabit resembles a scripted tale. With Consort Xian as the protagonist and Gao Qing'an as a supporting character, their love story serving as the central theme. As for myself, and the others in the Wufu, we are mere background figures in their narrative. Recently, a significant event transpired. The Empress Dowager, in good health, passed away. During the mourning period, Consort Xian unexpectedly fainted. Upon awakening, she was greeted by the imperial physician who had already prepared a prescription. Congratulations, Your Highness. You are 3 months pregnant. Consort Xian was overwhelmed with joy, gently caressing her abdomen. How wonderful! Truly, the heavens are aiding me. After a brief interval, Gao Qing'an arrived at the palace. Seeing him, Consort Xian offered a faint, delicate smile. Gao Lang, you have finally come. I feared you had forgotten me. How could I forget? You now carry my first child, he replied, his excitement palpable as he placed his hand on her belly. Is it true that there is a child here? Consort Xian placed her hand atop his, saying, In just a few months, our child will grow, and you will feel its movements through my abdomen. As the time of delivery approaches, my belly will become increasingly protruded and unsightly, so do not disdain me, Gao Lang. Her words dripped with a poignant vulnerability as she yearned for Gao Qing'an's affection, oblivious to the flicker of madness in his eyes. My beloved consort, take good care of yourself during this pregnancy. I eagerly anticipate the child's arrival. I found it perplexing that, after the massacre of so many, Consort Xian still harbored such fantasies about Gao Qing'an. Was it merely because she recognized her status as the heroine? Since her pregnancy, her diet and attire have mirrored that of the empress, and as winter set in, she insisted on only drinking plum blossom and snow water. She held a grudge against Gao Qing'an for summoning me previously and sought to torment me, resulting in my hands being covered in frostbite from fetching snow. Medicine is but poison in disguise, she proclaimed, forbidding me from applying any treatment. She took pleasure in witnessing my suffering, punishing me for my perceived betrayal. One day, while I was ordered to the imperial garden to gather snow, I unexpectedly encountered someone I had not seen in ages. Rui, is that you? It had been quite some time since anyone had called me by that name. The figure before me, clad in a deep indigo robe, exuded an air of gallantry. It was Lan Chong. I have seen the general, I said, bowing respectfully. He sighed with a hint of bitterness. I know you harbor resentment towards me, but you must also understand my predicament. What predicament could justify your betrayal of your former lord and benefactor? Are you about to spout some nonsense about redeeming a wise ruler? I retorted, remaining silent as his gaze fell upon my hands. I have heard that you are not faring well in the palace. If you wish to leave, I could request a decree from His Majesty to release you. Miss Manqing is now Consort Xian and does not lack for your service. Did you not express a desire to sail south and see the ocean? Sailing, a thought I had long since abandoned. It reminded me of that birthday when Miss asked about my wishes, and I had whimsically replied, only for Ah Fu to mock me for my fanciful dreams, relaying my words to Lan Chong. Yet in the span of 3 short years, the world had transformed entirely. The young lady had been usurped, and a mere servant from the Vofu had risen to the rank of general, leaving me to drown in my own hatred, sleepless through the nights. There is no need for the general to concern himself. I am well within the palace. It would be best for you to depart swiftly, sir. I take my leave. With that, I picked up my wooden bucket and turned to go. Lan Chong hurried after me, pressing a pouch of silver into my hand. This is merely some funds. You will need it for the palace's dealings. Take care of yourself. When I returned with the snow, I found Consort Xian entangled with Gao Qing'an, who was curiously resting his head against her bare abdomen, feeling the movements within. If one could overlook his reputation as a bloodthirsty tyrant, the scene might have appeared quite tender. You little maid, why are you dawdling? Your Majesty, do look at how careless the palace attendants have become. What if I were to become parched, and the dragon air within me were to suffer? Gao Qing'an cast a glance at me, his gaze lingering on my frostbitten, swollen hands, a glimmer of intrigue flickering in his eyes. You were the one I summoned previously, were you not? I had forgotten. As Consort Xian was heavily pregnant and found it inconvenient to serve him, he ordered me to relocate to Yufeng Palace and promoted me to a rank of concubine. Consort Xian was taken aback by this reaction, her temper flaring.
Gao lang. What?
Does my beloved consort have something to say? She clenched her teeth, replying, nothing. Serving His Majesty is my fortune. That night, Consort Xian punished me by making me kneel for the entire duration. You wicked girl. You seized your opportunity. But do not forget, you are my servant. She commanded her attendants to open the door, letting the cold wind blow in all night. The following day, I fell ill with a high fever and was carried to Yufeng Palace. However, Gao Qing'an did not mind. On the contrary, he spent several nights in my palace, claiming, "This feverish state of yours is quite intriguing." It was not as others imagined, with him lavishing me with affection every night, but rather employing the instruments of punishment that Consort Xian had prepared for him upon me. I could never fathom how someone like Gao Qing'an could be swayed. Perhaps it was the effectiveness of these non-lethal devices that contributed to his so-called redemption. The supposed success of his salvation merely transformed his methods from killing to tormenting. Gao Qing'an elevated my status 3 times in a mere month, and I soon became a concubine of caution. By this time, Consort Xian had not seen Gao Qing'an for an extended period. On a snowy morning, she led a group to block my palace entrance. Gao Qing'an, feeling somewhat fatigued from the heated floor, allowed Consort Xian to dismiss all the palace attendants, leaving us alone in the vast hall. Your Majesty, I must report that concubine Caution is having an illicit affair with General Lan. She produced the pouch Lan Chong had given me, along with several letters. Gao Qing'an lifted the pouch, his expression inscrutable. I have indeed seen this pouch on Lan Chong. Does concubine Caution have anything to say? Your Majesty, do observe the explicit language of the letters. Do not listen to her attempts at justification. Her crimes warrant punishment. I knelt before Gao Qing'an, arranging my garments. Your Majesty, I have known General Lan for a long time. This pouch was given to me out of old friendship, not as a token of love.
Furthermore,
these letters do not belong to me. He commanded that Lan Chong be summoned for confrontation. Upon seeing the pouch, Lan Chong's expression shifted, and he quickly offered his apologies. Your Majesty, I am indeed acquainted with concubine Caution, yet I have not overstepped my bounds. This pouch is merely a token of gratitude for past kindness. And these letters are not mine. Someone is trying to frame me. Consort Xian was relentless. You two have been entangled since your time at Doufu. How surprising that concubine Caution still cannot sever ties after entering the palace. Just as she was about to say more, Gao Qing'an raised his hand. Concubine Caution. If you claim there is no connection, how can you prove it? Consort Xian interjected. They say that death is the ultimate declaration of intent. Why not take your own life to prove your innocence and protect the reputation of the imperial family? I pondered for a moment before responding. If I were to kill him today, would your Majesty believe in my innocence? As my words hung in the air, Lan Chong's eyes widened in shock. Even Consort Xian was taken aback by my response, while Gao Qing'an erupted into hearty laughter. Very well, I shall grant you this opportunity to prove your innocence. He drew a dagger and tossed it before me. I unsheathed the blade, facing Lan Chong. Consort Xian continued to prattle. Your Majesty, she is merely putting on a show.
do not show her mercy.
I have heard that you have been suffering from headaches and insomnia. I know of a tribe in the West that can craft pipa from human leg bones, allowing one to forget their troubles. Once you eliminate this seductress, I shall have her made into a pipa. To Consort Xian, it seemed I would not dare to act against a high-ranking official, viewing it as a dead end for me. Even Lan Chong maintained a calm demeanor. Ruiyu, before he could finish, I thrust the dagger into his chest. His eyes widened, blood spilling from his lips as I withdrew the curved blade, splattering my face with crimson. The sudden turn of events left Consort Xian in a state of shock, her voice escaping her as a scream, her complexion as pale as death. Gao Qing'an wiped the blood from my face with his fingers and rubbed them together, just as he was about to speak, when the imperial concubine requested an audience. Upon seeing her sworn brother sprawled on the ground, she froze momentarily, her eyes soon brimming with tears. She flung herself onto Lan Chong's body, weeping uncontrollably. Gao Qing'an, irritated by the commotion, ordered the eunuch to lift her up. "What are you crying about? What is the matter?" The imperial concubine, choking back sobs, revealed her intent. "Your Majesty, I have come to expose Consort Xian for framing concubine Jean and my brother. Those private letters were forged by her, having bribed my maidservant." Gao Qing'an, vexed by the uproar, turned to Consort Xian. "And what do you have to say for yourself?" "I am wronged. I did not frame concubine Jean. I found those letters in the courtyard where she used to reside." Observing my calm demeanor as I wiped the blood from my face, Consort Xian suddenly grasped the situation. "Your Majesty, it is she who has framed me. It is she who has conspired against me." The imperial concubine lunged at Consort Xian, tearing at her garments. "Poisonous woman, it is all you're doing. If it were not for you, how could my brother have met his demise?" Lan Chong's blood pooled on the ground, the stench of iron pungent and overwhelming in the heat, a scent almost unbearable for ordinary folk, yet invigorating for Gao Qing'an, who had not seen human blood in a long time. His breath quickened, veins bursting in his eyes. When Consort Xian clung to her calf and abruptly stood up, he excitedly grasped her throat with one hand while the other gestured menacingly at her abdomen. "Bring me a knife." His pupils dilated, his tone chillingly sincere, as he seemed intent on slicing open Consort Xian's belly. Consort Xian struggled in his grip, her face turning ashen.
Gao Lang, no. This is our child.
"I beg you,
Do not.
let me go. Someone help me." Witnessing Consort Xian's futile struggles in his hands, Gao Qing'an showed no signs of relent until she succumbed to unconsciousness. He stumbled onto the couch, and I locked my thigh around his neck. They say this is called a triangle choke. Once it is formed, no one can escape. Moments later, he indeed lost consciousness. The imperial concubine and I exchanged glances, shedding our veils, and together we bound Gao Qing'an to the bedpost. That night, your visit startled me greatly. I had not anticipated such decisiveness and boldness from you. This is a crime that warrants the extermination of all 9 clans. You acted with such resolve in killing Lan Chong, an old acquaintance of yours. What use is an old acquaintance? Had I known, he would sell his master for glory. Betraying the Ho residents, I should never have saved him. You, however, show no restraint in your correspondence. The imperial concubine dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. He said he needed someone to enter the palace to seek a path for him, so I came. But he should have never sent my sister away as a favor. He caused her death. He should have realized I would not spare him. What do you plan to do next? I have my ways. After the imperial concubine departed from my palace, I ignited the fuse. With a thunderous roar, the earth trembled. Yufeng Palace collapsed significantly, and Gao Qing'an was struck on the back by a beam, spitting blood. I loosened my hair, crawling out from the rubble. "General Lan Chong intended to harm your Majesty. Quick, someone, summon the imperial physician. Your Majesty is inside, and Consort Xian is also there." When Gao Qing'an awoke, the physician had just finished assessing his condition. I helped him sit up and reiterated, "Your Majesty, the physician says you have fractured your spine. Gao Qing'an has been severely injured and may never speak or move again." Gao Qing'an's eyes bulged with fury, his lips trembling as he attempted to voice something, but he had lost the ability to speak. The physician trembled beside him, fearing he might meet the same fate as the previous physician, who lost his head at Gao Qing'an's hands. "Lu Yuanfan, prepare a prescription and then leave. Be vigilant regarding Consort Xian as well." I wiped away my tears. "Your Majesty, rest assured, I shall serve you diligently." With Consort Xian unconscious and the Emperor gravely ill, for the time being, the only individuals managing the harem were the imperial concubine and me. The former court had been decimated by Gao Qing'an, leaving only the weak behind. The imperial concubine, feeling responsible for the emperor's injury, went to the temple to chant sutras and pray for him. Thus, when memorials were submitted from the previous court, I read them aloud to Gao Qing'an. Everyone tacitly passed the necessary memorials requiring the imperial seal to me. When I produced the jade seal, Gao Qing'an looked at me with a hatred that could consume me. I wiped his incessant drooling with a handkerchief. "Your Majesty, did you ever consider this day while you were torturing palace maids and slaughtering loyal subjects? Your good days are yet to come." 3 days had passed by the time Consort Xian regained consciousness. At that moment, she had not been affected by the explosion, having fainted for so many days. It seemed permission had gone awry. Consort Xian arrived to see Gao Qing'an, accompanied by Qilu. You have finally come. His Majesty has been waiting for you for quite some time. Consort Xian cried out, rushing towards the bed. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. But upon seeing Gao Qing'an's disfigured form, she retreated 3 steps. At this point, Gao Qing'an was a mass of wounds, with crimson and yellow blood seeping into the bedding. I blew on the medicinal concoction in my hand.
What?
Do you still wish to redeem your tyrant? Consort Xian paused. How do you know? I poured the last spoonful of medicine over Gao Qing'an, watching as his body convulsed. I know quite well, and I also know you are a time traveler, determined to become Gao Qing'an's most cherished consort. Now that he is here, will you come to redeem him? Consort Xian turned to flee, but Qilu caught her arm. You vile servant, dare you betray me? Seeing the disbelief in Consort Xian's eyes, I laughed. I pressed her head against Gao Qing'an's face. She shook her head repeatedly, trying to pull away, clearly disgusted. He is still the same person, only his face is ruined, and you refuse to redeem him? You no longer wish for him to be a wise ruler? Your grand love is truly superficial. You wicked woman, had it not been for your interference, I would have redeemed Xiaolang and become his empress. Now you have harmed him to this extent, robbing the world of a wise ruler. Her words made me laugh until tears streamed down my face. A wise ruler? Does he deserve it? The moment he began to massacre the common folk, the moment he began to torture palace maids, he ceased to be a wise ruler. Do you think Gao Qing'an's current state is solely my doing? I merely placed him in this room and had the palace maids care for him. His ears were severed by the imperial concubine for slaying the maid who grew up with her. His face was marred by Xiao Shunzi for burning his master alive. His right eye was gouged out by Qilu. Every servant in the harem wishes for his demise. They are merely a few common slaves. Their deaths are inconsequential. If it could awaken Gaolang, it would be their blessing. Gaolang is a ruler. Do you allow mere servants to bully him? Oh, I am exhausted. Finally catching up. Sister Bao, we have come to see you. I never realized our sister Bao is truly someone of great affairs. Now the entire harem is in her hands. Incredible. Upon reading these familiar words, I couldn't help but smile.
What are you laughing at?
Am I wrong? He is an emperor, a true dragon among men. Do not make excuses for your selfishness. You clearly come from a land without emperors. Why do you so fervently support him? It is merely your own lust for power. They taught me a saying, to be clear about one's own status beneath the lower classes, and to regard everyone as equal above oneself. Upon recalling this, I constantly pondered how to eliminate you all. Enough with the chatter. Bring Consort Xian to her end. No, you cannot kill me like this. I am a time traveler. I can create gunpowder, I can forge glass, and I can save lives. I laughed derisively. I can also do the same with 1 part saltpeter, 2 parts sulfur, and 3 parts charcoal. At my signal, the palace maids tightened the white silk. System. I want to leave this world. Hurry. Suddenly, Consort Xian's body trembled, and she went limp. I then heard other voices. A suitable body has been matched for the host. I witnessed the trembling of Gao Qing'an's arm. The task has been transferred to the target, Gao Qing'an. The mission is unachievable, resulting in failure. No, I refuse to remain in this body. Release me at once. You wretched beings. I am the emperor, the sovereign among sovereigns. Once I recover, I shall exact vengeance upon your entire kin, subjecting you to 1,000 tortures. I shall slay you. I seized the scissors from the desk and severed Gao Qing'an's tongue, plunging the world into an eerie silence.
Wow.
Has the scoundrel and the vile woman truly merged into one body? Indeed, respect has been appropriately enforced. Decisive and resolute, truly befitting of our grand heroine. The young lady's body still drew breath, yet she did not awaken for an entire night as I held her close in anxious anticipation. Could it truly be that she remains unresponsive? I implore you, let the original soul return. The dear sister is on the verge of shattering.
Ru-E.
I gazed in disbelief at the person in my arms. The fingers of Consort Xian twitched gently, and she stirred from my embrace, causing my tears to cascade like rain. My lady, word has just arrived that Miao Pin has passed away. It truly is the young lady. Wait, is that divine woman the original host? Good Ru Yi. Do not weep. Am I not back now? Upon hearing you had entered the palace, I feared for your safety and hastily devised a way to infiltrate. Greetings, my lady.
Secruyi.
Greetings, Ru Yi. Await my lady. The foul cucumber and the tasks villainous. Upstairs, the clear broth of the elder master. I pulled the young lady's gaze towards the figure upon the bed. My lady, these two individuals have now come together. What shall we do? The young lady withdrew a hairpin and stabbed it towards the person on the bed. Once, twice, until the figure lay silent. Only then did she cease. Tears mingled with blood smeared across her face. When she crossed over, I was still within the body, witnessing firsthand how she ingratiated herself with Gao Qing'an and how she humiliated you. At that moment, I vowed that if I could reclaim my body, I would ensure they met a gruesome end. Thankfully, you were there. Thankfully, you were there. Gao Qing'an is deceased, yet this must remain concealed. Thus, the young lady and I resolved to elevate Consort Xian to Empress, with me masquerading as Gao Qing'an. I transcribed the knowledge imparted by my sisters for her: gunpowder, medicine,
Agriculture.
Through our efforts, one policy after another was implemented. There were dissenters, yet a mere demonstration of artillery silenced them all. The young lady proclaimed that imperial authority is but a hollow title. The dominion over the realm is not rooted in morality or lineage, but in strength and power. Alas, some women, having been brainwashed, foolishly relinquish their authority. Woe is me. Manqing and Ru Yi are truly wonderful. May they find perpetual happiness together. This is precisely the exhilarating narrative our grand heroine ought to relish. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again in the next tale.